Povo da Rosa Caviera Pomba Gira. Povo da Exu Tata Caviera. Leroy, Hotep, Alafia, Kamusta, Ola, Aloha. Welcome to the Mindofro page. I'm Ifa Titilayo, Oba Jaguna, and the Lady of Death, Caviera. Today I'm going to share some information on my experience with walking with crossroad deities of the cemetery. So recently I got marked Pomba Gira, Rosa Caviera, and Exu Tata Caviera through the Quimbanda pantheon, which is a traditional afro-brazilian religion. The last video I made was actually about how to protect yourself from negative energy. So if you like that kind of stuff, before we get started, please subscribe to my YouTube channel at Mindofro. I also have a TikTok, an Instagram, and a Twitter at Mindofro. And I also have a Snapchat at LittleRoro253 and a Facebook business page at The Mindofro. I also do aura readings, and since we're talking about crossroad deities right now, you could ask crossroad deities anything you would like to ask. You could ask even the beings of the cemetery anything, because that's where crossroad deities reside in regards to transformation and change, doorkeeping and whatnot. So if you will have any questions for them, I do readings over video chat on my Facebook page at Mindofro. If you would like a reading, go ahead and set an appointment with me, and so we can set you up. So today I'm going to talk about death. It's one of the hardest things for people to speak on. But if we aren't one with death, we aren't one with our life. The more we accept our own death, the more we accept our life. So I'm going to try my best to answer all the questions in regards to death. If at the end of the video I have not accomplished any of the questions that you have, you can go ahead and leave a comment and let me know if you have any more questions. If you are watching this on YouTube, just want to let you know that I am live on Facebook right now. I always do my videos live because I think it's kind of weird talking to a video with nobody watching. It's kind of awkward. So that's why I always do my videos live. So, what is it like being marked? For those of you who are unfamiliar with the practice, I got marked Quimbanda spirits. Marking means, not in all pantheons, but when you first get marked your Pomba Gira and your Exu, I didn't literally get marked. It was a spiritual marking. I went and I got a reading. I had to get 2 readings done. My first reading I got was to see where my energy was and any messages that Exu and Pomba Gira had for me prior to my marking. And then my second reading I got was the actual marking where they asked which Pomba Gira and which Exu walks with me. So what I found out was Tata Caviera and Rosa Caviera are the Exu and the Pomba Gira that resides with me, and they walk with me, which is crazy is because I already knew that before getting marked. They have approached me prior to me getting marked, and they told me their names. And I'm going to share those experiences with you here in a minute. It's some pretty crazy stuff. So when I first got my first hand in Ifa, so I also practice Ifa, or Isheshe, which is Orisha work. I work with the Orishas. I am currently initiated into Ifa. I have my warriors, and I am also an crowned Obatala. I made a video on that, so if you would like to see that, go ahead and check that video out on my YouTube video. The first time I got my warriors, when I say warriors, I mean I got my Exu and I got my Ogun and I got my Ochosi. What that means is when you get your warriors, you receive altars and you have to go through an initiation, and you get your altars, you bring them home, and you get to know these spirits in the spirit realm. So when I first got my Exu Adara, I meditated in front of his altar, and he started appearing to me in different forms. I noticed first he came to me red with horns, and I said, because a lot of people see Exu as the devil. because of indoctrination and Abrahamic religion and faith and so on. So I said, Eshu, you're not the devil to me. I love you, Eshu. You're so playful and you see us, you a trickster, but I don't see Eshu as a devil at all. So he started to change forms that were more comfortable for me. So eventually he changed form into a man with a white suit on and a white fedora, and he was leaning on a wall smoking a cigar. Come to find out later on, that's a Quimbanda Eshu. So basically, when I first got my warriors, Eshu Ardar was explaining to me through visions that it's my path to practice Quimbanda, and this is what my soul contract is. And we're going to get more into soul contracts and meanings in this video, because life and death is about your soul contract. So before I get into that, just let me go on with my experience with Eshu in Pomba Gira. One time I was meditating in my pyramid. I share a lot of videos on me meditating on my pyramid, and I made a video on how to build a pyramid and stuff like that. So I have a pyramid in my home. One time I was meditating in my pyramid, and I felt a female presence in the pyramid with me. And she was very pushy, and she was yelling at me, and she was like, talk to me, talk to me. This is like literally what she was like. She's like, talk to me, talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. And it sounded like she was saying, at first I thought she was saying, Pomba Gira, Pomba Gira, Pomba. And I couldn't really hear her clearly through the etheric realm, through the spiritual realm. But I was like, Pomba Gira, Pomba Gira. So I asked my spouse who has been practicing African traditional practice for the last 20 years. I asked him who Pomba Gira was, and he said, Pomba Gira. And I was like, that could be what the voice was saying. So I looked her up and found out she was a Quimbanda spirit. She was pushing me and she was teaching me how to work with her. She taught me that she liked her things fancy. She likes Valentine-y type of stuff. She likes hearts, she likes roses, she likes wine, she likes champagne, she likes clear liquor like vodka, and she wanted me to pour her some. So my first experience with Pomba Gira is she told me how to work with her. I poured her the liquor that she wanted and her 3 glasses that she wanted. It took me about 3 days. I made a video on that as well if you would like to watch that. A warning on Pomba Gira, because I'm not going to get too much into it in this video because I made another video on it. When I first worked with her, it did bring up a lot of chaotic energy in the area I lived in, but it did not touch myself, as in what that means is it didn't bring any chaos in my life, but it did help me see and understand what her energy is like around me. So I actually ended up seeing exactly where I poured the liquor out for her at the crossroads. So Eshu and Pomba Gira, they like their offers offered to them at the crossroads. So I gave her something at the crossroads, and a little bit later there ended up being 2 women screaming at each other at the crossroads, and they were arguing. So I realized that she was letting me know that when Pomba Gira's energy around, she tends to cause a lot of screaming and yelling and stuff like that. And what this means is you could either be protected from this chaotic energy, or you could send it to people who do not want to leave you alone. And of course, she does a lot more than that as well. Go ahead and check that Pomba Gira video out that I made on my YouTube at Mindofro, so you could get a little more idea of the kind of stuff that she does. And just to let you know, there's multiple Eshus and there's multiple Pomba Giras. My specific Eshu and Pomba Gira are the ones of the cemetery. They're the ones that reside in that area because they have to do with the concept of life and death and the contracts we have prior to coming here and leaving here. Life and death situations. They also are associated with the energies of anything that would push you to life or death. But they explained to me that death is life because it is basically a change. So when you go from one life, you're going to another life. There is no end. There is this transformation and basically a change of the energy is what it is. So they always say that when you say life, know that you're saying, when you say or mention the word death, you are actually also saying life as well, because you're speaking about a new life. And it doesn't always have to do with your physical body dying. It could have to do with anything dying within your life, within yourself. It could be maybe bad habits dying within yourself, or maybe even good habits dying within yourself, or a business, a home, family. Any energy that ends and starts is a concept of death in life. And before I really get into this video, I'm going to let you know that they do speak through me a lot and they speak to me a lot. So if I see anybody who is watching this video and I feel like they have a message for any of you, I will let you know. But I'm going to let you know right now that these spirits are not very light. They are very heavy, and their energy is known to be black. There's 3 spiritual energies. One is white, one is red, and one is black. The energy of black is associated with taking, as in like a black hole. It is negative, as in going in, versus white energy is going out, positive, or what we like to call ire in the practice, which is ascension. And then red is known as war. So these energies of the cemetery, they're associated with black. My particular ones specifically told me that they like to stay in the red area. What that means is somewhere in the middle, is if I am to work with these spirits, that I am always to make sure that I balance the energy out, as in if I am protecting anybody with my practices, to make sure I'm also healing people with my practices as well. I personally have to stay very balanced. Everyone's purpose is different. I want to mention that because we're talking about purpose here. Some people's purpose is to work with a lot of white energy because they need to ascend and need to help other people ascend, while some people's purpose is to be in the red energy, which means they're warring constantly. And the thing about that is some people tend to point that red energy in the wrong direction. And then black energy basically means negative energy, not negative energy that we've been conditioned to believe. Negative energy as in it's taking, it's going inward like a black hole. But just remember, like I said earlier, taking means giving at the other end as well, because death always equals life. But there has to be some kind of change and transformation before we get to that giving or light energy, because know that light came out of darkness. So we need to stop fearing these beings, because without this energy, black energy, which is what we call death energy, there wouldn't be no light, because light came out of darkness. I'm looking at my notes. Hold on one second. Excuse me. So the first time I met Tata Caviera, my mother passed away in 2008, and she passed away in a hospice. If you're not sure what a hospice is where people pass away gracefully, basically what it is, because a hospital is made to keep you alive. So when somebody finally gets to the point where they accepted the fact that they're going to die, either them or their family, they will take them to a hospice so they could die comfortably, which means they're not going to keep reviving them if something happens. They're not going to be pumping them full of a bunch of drugs and IVs and stuff like that. They take all that stuff out. Basically what that's called is life support. Literally, life support is not pulling the plug, but basically what that is, whatever they were using to help that person live, whether it's breathing, whether it's something that's helping them pump their blood, that's what it means for somebody to be taken off their life support. So I guess that's why some people call it pulling the plug, because they're pulling the plugs of man-made equipment to help you survive. So when we get to that point, if we ever get to something like that, I hope we don't, they take you to a hospice. So my mother passed away in a hospice in 2008 in room 13, which is a coincidence that the god of death, Sicker, in ancient Egypt is associated with the number 13, and is the room that I first seen Tata Caviera. Tata Caviera is known to be the spirit and the leader of the cemetery. What that is basically the Grim Reaper. If you look at pictures of Tata Caviera, it looks like it says Caviera, but it's pronounced Caviera. He is seen as a Grim Reaper. So there was this one time where I was sleeping in the room where my mom was passing away. I was there with one of my exes at that time. And I don't know if you've been through this, but when you're going through a moment when you have a family member dying and it takes a while for them to die, a lot of people go through this where you're constantly going to the hospital, constantly sitting with them next to them in the bed, and it's very tiring. So me and my ex at that time, we fell asleep and we passed out, sitting up in a chair next to my mother. I woke up with my boyfriend at the time screaming and backing up in the chair. And I looked over and I seen a shadow floating across the room and disappeared into the wall. And he was like, ah, ah, ah. He was screaming very, very loudly. So we both seen it. That was the first time that's actually the beginning of my spiritual awakening. Because back then I was tore up from the floor up. Back in my younger days, I used to be a hustler. I used to be on one. I was out on the street hustling in the game and all that kind of stuff for a while. When I watched my mother pass away and I seen that being float across the room and I had somebody with me who witnessed it with me, that was the first time I actually questioned it as an adult. Let me add as an adult, because I didn't get to that phase of not believing until I was an adult. That there's something else more out there other than us. That's when I started my journey. That's when I started getting obsessed with the concept of death and death spirits. So recently, when I started actively getting involved into the priesthoods, a door was opened because Exu is known as the door opener and the communicator with all those spirits on the other side. If you want to speak to any other spirit, you need to go through Exu Elegba first. He is the one who helps transfer the energy of communication back and forth through the etheric realm. As in, if you want to speak to anybody who has ever passed away, any god, any deity, even yourself and past lives and stuff, if he is the one you need to go through. This being has been being spoken to and worked with through many, many pantheons. Even those people who want to break away from religious concepts always have some kind of issue they work through, because there is no communicating or open doorways or doing any kind of work, occult work. Know that I said occult, not cult. Occult means secret knowledge. There is no working any secret knowledge without the help of Exu Elegba. So Exu Tata is the male version, while Pomba Gira is known as the female or feminine aspect of Exu. So when I seen this spirit, I had this weird phase where I kept researching things, and that's when I realized every single religion has a story of a being that leads you from life to death, leads you from this life to the next life. Every single religion has this being. But for a while, I actually let go of it for a while. I let go of this concept for a while. I let go of the whole obsession of the Grim Reaper until I got initiated. This being came back. This being, I was laying, this really happened. This is crazy. I was laying, before I go to that, I forgot to mention. So when I seen this being in the hospice, within a month, I started to realize that I know when people are going to die. I know that sounds really deep, but this is what happened. After I seen that being, I started to know when death was near. The first moment I had wasn't a human, it was a cat. My dad had a cat named Casper. She was the craziest cat we've ever had, ever used to scratch everybody. But something told me that this cat was going to pass away within 2 months. I didn't think anything of it at the time. And then as time went by, I was at my sister's event where it was Christmas, and her boyfriend's mother was there. And there was a message that told me the next time we have this event, she will not be there. Sickness follows her. And it was very accurate. That's exactly what happened. And then I had another time when I was with one of my exes, when I was living in Virginia. He used to always tell me this story about his grandfather's really old and he's kicking it, he's going to have a long life. When I seen him in person for the first time, there was a message that says he has a year before he passes away. And I've always thought this every single time my ex used to say, I love my grandpa, and I couldn't tell him. I couldn't tell him that I knew that he was going to go. And I was very accurate. I knew that he was going to pass away before next Christmas, before the next holiday. He was not going to be there. And I knew the exact date he was going to pass away. Not the exact date, but I knew around the time he was going to pass away. And I was very, very accurate. This is a gift that Tata Caviera gave me. And Tata Caviera continues to give me this gift. I didn't know what to do with it for the longest time. I've had it, and I do a lot of times I know things I don't tell people because a lot of people don't want to know these things. A lot of people don't know if death is following them. A lot of people don't want to know if their family members or loved ones' death is following them. So I kind of just shoved it down. I always hear the messages coming through, and I feel when this being of death is near, but I don't really share it. There's only a few people I've shared this information with. The only people that I shared it with are conscious friends and people who are spiritual themselves, because people aren't ready to hear that. People aren't ready to know that you have a gift. And a lot of times, if they're not into that kind of stuff, you tell them that, they're going to think you're crazy. Until you tell them someone's about to die, and then they do die, then they don't think you're crazy. We don't want to get to that point, though. So I tend to just not say anything unless I know that person is ready to hear that message. So speaking of that gift, the only gift that I had that this being of death gave me since the hospice in 2008 was to know if sickness and death is coming to them. But what it would be is the only thing that I would be able to see was natural death. So if someone was natural dying, as in a sickness was with them, I knew that it was with them. And it wasn't because it wasn't because they're obviously sick, because I've seen perfectly normal looking people and I could still see it in them. But when I got marked recently, it was like a few months ago. I think it was like, I don't remember exactly, but it was like a few months ago I got marked by spirits. And within time, I started to realize that, and this was hard for me. At first, it was hard for me to understand the difference because I did just get crowned Obatala, and the Orisha of Obatala he's white energy. He's Funfun, and he makes me very sensitive to energy as well. And because I sit in a lot of white energy, since I got crowned him, any energy that does not agree with white energy is very disturbing to me. It bothers me a lot. So something I realized is when I got marked Tata, who was a complete opposite of the energy of Obatala, he gave me another gift. And the other gift that he gave me was to see when death spirits are following people around way before they're dying. And a lot of people who were very toxic have death spirits following them around, and it's not even their time. Now, this is a new gift that I have got since I've been marked my spirits, and I am very amazed about what the spirit can do. I'm very amazed at what all the Orishas can do. There's something about, in Ifa we call him Iku, which is death. There's something about this being that just amazes me, and how he gives me this gift to see and know what he sees and knows. It's amazing, and sometimes it can be bothersome, and the energy can be very agitating, but I've finally got to the point where I've accepted it, and I understand now. I understand that when I feel disturbed, instead of getting mad about it, I just say, oh, okay, well, it's just Tata Caviera telling me that this energy is near them, and I could be more accepting of the energy instead of trying to bottle it down or ignore it or push it away. So let's talk about Pomba Gira. My experience with Pomba Gira, when I first got marked Pomba Gira, she taught me about, how do I explain this so people who aren't practicing understand? So before existence, everything in existence came out of the immortal waters, or darkness, or chaos is what I think a lot of religions like to say, that everything came out of the chaotic waters. So there are beings in Ifa that we call Iami. Iami are basically the negative aspects of the mothers. When I say the mothers, I mean the how do I say this for people that aren't initiated? So there are female deities. If you look in every single pantheon, whether you're Hindu, whether you're Ifa, whether you're Kemetic, there's female deities. So every female deity and male deity, but we're going to talk about the female ones right now. Every female deity has a positive aspect to them and a negative aspect to them because their balance is balanced. The whole entire universe is made of yin and yang, light and dark, feminine, masculine. So every single female deity that you see in every single pantheon has a positive and negative aspect to them. So the Iyami can either be the positive aspect or the negative aspect. So when I first got initiated Pomba Gira, she told me and taught me that she is associated with the primordial mothers, as in she is one of the beings, or she is a being that is from those energies that all existence was born out of. So for anything to be born, there must be feminine energy. This is the laws of the universe. Masculine and feminine energy mixed together creates life, creates existence that we know now. So when masculine energy was born, which is what we call light, it was born out of darkness, which was feminine energy. This energy is known as chaos, and I'm going to explain this later on, the meaning of chaos, because a lot of times we are very confused about what it really means. I'm going to get into it here in a little bit. So she is associated with that energy because Exu and Pomba Gira, because Pomba Gira is a female version of Exu, is associated with change, transformation, which is basically alchemy, and doorkeeping. The reason why they are called the doorkeepers is because anything that goes from this to that, if you think about alchemy, when you're mixing chemicals together to create something else, that moment when something changes, as soon as it goes from this to that, that is Exu, that is Pomba Gira, that is the crossroad deities, those are the doorkeepers, all those energies that helps anything transfer from life to death, from this to that, from when colors even change. If you think about when you mix blue and red together, it creates purple, so which is also associated with a lot of beings of the cemetery. Anything that has to do with change is Exu and Pomba Gira. Therefore, for anything to be born into existence, there must be Exu and Pomba Gira. So Pomba Gira explained to me that the Iyami, the Ogdoad, if you go online and Google Ogdoad, it is spelled Ogdoad. It is the Kemetic deities. You'll see 4 snake-headed female goddesses, and you'll see 4 frog-headed male gods. So the Ogdoad, I'm not going to get too much into it now because this video is not about Ogdoad. The Ogdoad, the Iyami, and even the story of Medusa is the story of the feminine aspect, or the immortal, primordial, chaotic waters that all of existence was born out of. So I'm actually going to make a video. I make videos called Hookah Time with Mindofro, where I have guests come onto the show and we speak about conscious subjects. So I'm going to have a video where we talk about this concept. Pomba Gira explained to me how all of this has to do with each other. So around the time she explained this to me, my partner said, oh, I made a video in New Year's, Hookah Time with Mindofro, on the history of New Year's. So go ahead and check that video out. And somebody commented, said, can you make a video on Medusa? Because I was dressed up as Medusa on one of my specials. We did a special on Halloween and the truth behind holidays, and it was Halloween, and I dressed up as Medusa for Halloween. So, which is such a coincidence that Medusa has to do with the primordial mothers, and I am actually about to be initiated into Iami. So it's basically spirit saying dress up as Medusa. So somebody said, please make a video on Medusa. So please look out for that video. We're going to make a video on that and all the history of how Medusa is connected to the Iami and the Ogdod and other historical stories of goddesses in other ancient times and whatnot and stuff like that. So around that time, my spouse said, hey, you should do some research on Medusa, or we should do a video on Medusa. And I'm like, yeah, we should. That would be hella tight. So Pomba Gira heard him say that to me. So Pomba Gira explained to me, because I was wondering, like, well, what does the history of Medusa have anything to do with anything? I had no idea. I haven't researched anything. So Pomba Gira came to me, and she told me what to look up. She told me to look up Ogdod. She told me that they are connected to Iami. So I did a little research, and I found out that Pomba Gira was accurate. What she said was very accurate, and in the history of ancient times, in the history of migration of these religious practices and how it's migrated, and colonialism, and how the ancient Greeks took some of the beliefs from ancient Egypt or ancient Kemet and turned it into Greek gods and goddesses, all that stuff aligns. So this is my experience with Pomba Gira. She is a teacher, and because she is connected to what we call in Ifa the Iami, she teaches about the feminine, divine feminine. She's taught me a lot. She's taught me to be more in touch with spoiling myself. So not only does death teach us about death, it teaches us to appreciate life. Because without any life, death follows us. So Tata told me why people get followed by death spirits. I'm sure a lot of you want to understand, well, why would death spirits follow me? The majority of the reason why death spirits follow people is because when I say death spirits, I'm not talking about just death. I'm talking about energies that are attracted. So death comes out of a doorway. So there are different doorways that beings come out of. Obatala comes out of his own doorway, and Exu comes out of his own doorway, while Ogun comes out of his own doorway. So what that means is these are different energies, different dimensions of energies that they come through when they come to communicate, or when their energy is very high around you. So when you see people, let's say they're living in a household where they're constantly arguing and fighting all the time, and they're drinking all the time, and it's chaotic and chaotic and chaotic. Chaos like that, like I said earlier, is associated with the chaotic waters, which is black energy. Therefore, what you are and what you vibrate at is what you will attract. So if you're always arguing and bickering all the time, and you're always depressed all the time, if you think about the energy of depression, it feels low, it feels like it's pulling you down. This is the energy of black energy, like a black hole, everything's sucking and pulling. So if you're always depressed, if you're always over emotional and it's chaotic and you're angry all the time and it's causing you to feel heavy and compressed and pulled down, you are attracting these energies to you. So Tata explained to me, and now I could see it. I could see it when death spirits are following people. So know the difference between someone's time is coming up. Therefore, they just have Iku, or they have like a Tata Caviera, waiting for their time to be up. It doesn't necessarily mean they have a lot of chaos in their life. You could have a death spirit following you because it's just your time. And you could still be in Ire, and you could still be in light white energy, and still have Iku following you because it's just your time. But other than that, Tata Caviera taught me that some people attract these energies because of the energy that they hold within their self and within their life, and the habits or the bad habits that they have attract these type of energies. So to my next step, I'm looking at my notes really quick. I'm sure a lot of people want to know, well, why do people die? Free will is why people die. So let me explain to you. There's a story of Obatala or Asar being broken up into multiple pieces. And when it's Asar in the Kemetic version, it's Set who breaks them up into pieces. In the Ifa pantheon, or Yoruba pantheon, Obatala gets broken up into pieces by Exu. So if you want free will, the reason why you want free will is because you want to have your own identity, which is separate from God's, which causes the creation of multi-dimensional verses. So we live in a universe that consists of multiple dimensions. And according to multiple dimensions, it is mathematics. Death is time. Time is mathematics. Therefore, if you want to have your own identity separate, broken from all that is, from what we call Amun or Oludamare or the universe, because God, Source, is known as everything. So when our soul decided we wanted to have our own identity, we became separate, broken from Source. Hence, the broken pieces of Obatala, the broken pieces of Asar. We wanted to have our own identity. That is why we die. That is why there is separation. Because for us to have our own identity, we must be separate from Source. Separation means a beginning and an end. Therefore, that is why we die. If you don't want to die, we must be one with Source. We must not be separated from Source. We must understand that the identity that we think that we have, separate from Source, when we say I, we are separating ourselves from Source. And because we separate ourselves from Source, we die. And one of the main reasons why we die, another question I'm sure a lot of you have. Before I get into the next, before I was going to say something, but actually, I keep talking about dying. So what is death? I'm going to explain to you the way Tata Caviera explained to me what death is. Death is a change in consciousness. So when you die, who we call the Grim Reaper, Death, Iku, whatever you want to call him, you could draw him with white wings and he could be an angel, whatever you want to call him, however you want to draw him. At the end of the day, it is still the concept of death, and it is still the same energy and the same being that is taking you from this life form to the next life form. Death is a change in consciousness, which means when death comes to you, death's job, or I call Tata Caviera's job, is to help you transition from this consciousness to the next consciousness. So when we're in this realm, in this physical realm, this is what we're conscious of. You're watching this video, you see a picture of me on the screen, this is what you see. But do you see all your ancestors standing behind you and watching over you? Do you see all your guides and angels and the Orishas and the Neteru standing around you? No, you don't. Unless you're hella psychic, maybe you do. But majority of the people who are watching this video, you don't see it. Why? Because your consciousness is aware of this realm. So, when Iku, or Caviera means skull, by the way, because when he comes around, he has a skull face, like, hence the Grim Reaper, because it represents death. So when Caviera comes around, he takes you from this form to the next. Basically what he's doing is he's pulling which is why death feels very heavy, because he's pulling your awareness from this awareness to the next awareness, which we're going to go into on why we have spirits that linger around, because their awareness still wants to stick around here instead of move on to the other realm, because they're stuck with the reality of, well, I should have done this. Well, I should have said bye to this person. I still want to be with this person. So their awareness, consciousness, tends to stay around, which is why we have haunted houses and stuff like that. So, Exu, or Tata Caviera, death, he helps you change your awareness from when you're losing and shedding your body from this reality to the next reality. So that's what death is. Death is basically a change in consciousness and a change in awareness, because the vibrations change. So this physical realm has a specific vibration. So the slower the vibration, the more physical something appears. The faster the vibration, the less it appears, because our senses can only see a specific vibration, and our ears are only able to hear a specific vibration. The higher the noise, the less we're able to hear it, or the lower the noise, the less we're able to hear it, or smell it, or see it, or feel it, which makes some people conscious and some people not. Conscious means you're able to be aware beyond your basic senses, which we call the third eye. So if you're conscious, it means that you are beyond taste, smell, sight, sound. When you're conscious, it means that you are aware that there is an existence beyond your own senses. A lot of people can't see past their own nose. They think whatever they see, smell, and taste is their reality. And a little science fact is there's plenty of animals that see more than us. There's plenty of animals that hear more than us. That's scientific fact. This is why we need to shed the ego. Our ego, the real ego, is the idea that we are separate from source. A lot of times people think that our ego is a lower vibrating self. That's not what it is. Because a lower vibrating self is our self as well. And the higher vibrating self is our self as well. When we pick a favorite, we are separating it. The universe isn't separate unless you want to die. So can people die before their time? Absolutely. Why do people die before their time? Because they're not following their contract. So before we came here, we had a contract. Every single person who walks this planet has a purpose, or you wouldn't be here. And you signed that purpose and you signed that contract prior to being here. And you know you're on the right track because you feel happy. When you feel happy, you are in Iray. Iray means ascension. Iray means white light. Iray means joy and happiness. When you're happy, it means you're in Iray, and it means that you are following your higher purpose, the purpose and the contract that you signed prior to coming here. When you are off track, chaos comes into your life. You start to lose jobs, you start to lose money, you start to lose friends, you start to lose hope. You might even lose your mind. This means you are off track. This means you are not following the contract that you signed. My video tripped for a second. It means that you are not following the contract that you signed prior to coming here. So this is how you know you are not following your higher purpose. When chaos is near. So chaos is also the friction to push you in the right direction. because we're stubborn and we have a lot of ego. We don't want to listen to the universe. Therefore, Oludumare, Amun, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, created the concept of friction to push you in the right direction because you wanted to be separate. You wanted to have your own identity. You wanted to have your own purpose. Therefore, you came here and said, I'm going to be born here. I want to be here, and I want to be born through this family. And this is what I'm going to do when I come here. But if you do not follow that purpose, friction will push you that way. Because friction, like sex, is what creates reality. So, if you feel that you have death spirits near you because you have a lot of friction in your life, and you're not sure exactly which way the friction is pushing you, you could send me a message or a comment, and we could set an appointment up, and we could do a reading to find out what your purpose is, why all this friction is happening in your life, and which way you need to go. We could find out. So why is it people's time? It's people's time because they fulfill their purpose. When you come here and you fulfill your purpose, it's just your time. I'm sure you've seen people who are at peace with it. I'm sure you've seen people who have a very, very long life, and then they get to the point where, like, I'm just ready to go. They fulfilled their purpose. This is the way we're all supposed to go. This is the way we're supposed to feel when all of us go. We're supposed to be at peace with it. Some people lie to themselves. Some people lie to themselves and they tell themselves it's my time, but subconsciously they know it's not. They're off track. They have a lot of chaos. So a lot of times people have so much chaos in their life, which is friction, pushing you the other direction. So much chaos, so much chaos. And we're so egotistical and we're so prideful to listen to this chaos. And we want to just keep doing stupid shit in our life. And then we want to blame God and say, why this? It is you. It is us. We are making the choice to ignore God when God is telling us to go another direction. We are making that choice to ignore that message. And when we keep ignoring the messages, it gets more chaotic and more chaotic and more chaotic. And then things happen like we get taken before our time. Or we take our own time. Or we take our own life. So the next subject I'm sure a lot of people want to know about in regards to death is suicide. What happens when you kill yourself? The energy that you have when you kill yourself follows you because you are your energy. You are your soul. You are your Ori. Ori means head. So Tata explained to me, a lot of people have this false belief that if your life is miserable and so much chaos and friction is happening in your life, a lot of people are like, well, I'll just kill myself and I'll be better on the other end. Tata says no. Iku and death and the Grim Reaper says no. Why? Because we kept telling you to follow your purpose and you refused to listen to us. So then you kill yourself. And then you realize when you get to the other side, your purpose is unfulfilled, which causes even more misery than the misery you had when you were alive. This is why we don't kill ourselves. Can you free yourself from this misery on the other end? Of course. We all have free will. But the reason why we live in this physical realm is because it's easier. Have you ever tried to control your dreams? So your dream is your subconscious mind, is your free-flowing consciousness and energy without the physical realm holding it down to this reality. Have you ever tried to control your dreams? It's pretty hard, isn't it? This is what happens when you shed your body. Yes, we have guides. Sometimes we even have guides that show up in our dreams to help us guide us from this realm to the other realm. We asked for this physical experience. We asked for it because this realm is slower and everything manifests slower. So manifestation means you could think something and feel something and simply create it in your life by a simple thought and a simple feeling. But it's a lot easier to sit and think about something and be aware that you're thinking of something in the physical realm than when you fall asleep and you're not even aware that you're asleep, which is exactly what happens when you die. Unless you know yourself. There's a Kemetic proverb called "Know thyself, and you shall know the gods." What this means is when you know yourself, even when you shed your body, you will know who you are in the great scheme of things, and you'll know your connection and your part with the gods. And you will know the gods that live within you. Because as within, so without. As our soul, so the universe. As above, so below. But if you are unaware of that, when you shed your body, your spirit will float around freely and out of control and chaotic like the life we chose to live. So we're not a bouncy ball bouncing from this into this into that uncontrollably. We chose to come to the physical realm and to live this life so we can learn how to manifest our powers, our reality a lot easier. That's why we live in this physical realm, because we chose to be here. So a lot of people say, well, why is all this crap happening in the world? Why did I choose this life? That's a very good question. This is why it's good to get readings done to find out, why did you choose the life that you lived? Why did you choose the body that you live in? Why did you choose to live in this dimension? Why did you choose to live on this planet during all the chaos that's happening? We made the soulful choice to be here. Our soul is much older than our body. Because like I said earlier, when you die, the energy that you held with you when you die goes with you. Up to an extent. It depends on, your purpose and the agreement you have on the other side as well. So this reality that we're living in right now is the collective conscious. We collectively chose to live this reality. There are multiple realities, multiple dimensions all over the place in the universe. And we chose to live this one for whatever reason that we did. Some of us are here to live through karma. Some of us are here to teach. Some of us are even here to rest. Everyone's purpose is different. So a lot of times when I see people tell other people, you need to do this and you need to do that, you really don't know. Unless you were there prior to them being born and you see them write the contract of what they're supposed to do when they get here, you don't know. Or unless you're on the mat getting a reading, getting divination done, and you're with somebody. The only person that has a right to tell us our purpose is us and God. Us and Source, or the voice of God, who we call Ifa, or Tahuti, or Thoth, or Rumala, the voice of God. It doesn't matter what you name the voice of God. The voice of God is just God communicating for Source. Basically what that is. So can you change your contract? Yeah, up to an extent, yes, you can. So sometimes when we are born, when I say up to extent, it means that if you came here for a purpose, you need to fulfill that purpose. But sometimes we subconsciously try to change that contract, as in we change our mind. And Source knows more than we do. Source knows what's good for us. Source knows what's good for our higher self. So this is why we divine, and this is why we call on psychics to ask to communicate with the other side, on our purpose. So when I say up to an extent, what I mean is, if you're going through a phase to where you have death spirits following you and you're about to die before your time, because you subconsciously decided to rewrite your contract and say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore, I want to leave and go somewhere else, or maybe just come back another time, maybe I need to go take a soulful vacation and die and go to another realm and then come back. When we decide that, Iku will tell you, this is why a lot of people have this experience when they die. Something happens. I'm sure you've heard this by people. They'll go through a almost death experience where something happened to them and they were revived, and they heard a voice speaking to them and saying, you have something to do. What that is a re-signing of a contract. Someone decided they're going to die before their time, and the spirits on the other side said, it is not your time, you need to change your act. You need to change you need to fix your behavior, is what you need to do, and you need to go back and you need to fix it. And then when your purpose is done, then you come back. That's called a change in contract. We try to change our contract. We get tricked into thinking we're going to die, and then we come back anyways and still have to fulfill our purpose. One of a being explained to me, a deity, who I found out was actually sicker, speaking to me, is we can change small contracts that aren't our major purpose. What I mean is, let's say, for example, it's your higher purpose to be a priest or priestess. You can't change that contract. That's a big purpose, very, very big purpose. But there's little contracts that get you there. Like, let's say, a relationship with somebody, a job, other moments, like a vacation, let's say, stuff like that. Those are little agreements that you can change. You could cut those cords, you could change them, you could switch them around. Yes, when it comes to those kind of contracts, yes, you could change your contract. But when it comes to your higher purpose, no, you can't change it. And if you try to change it, chaos will follow you. You asked for it. You made the agreement before you came here. So you can't get mad at it, really. You signed it. You signed the contract. You signed the agreement. But like I said earlier, if you try to leave before your time, like suicide or something like that, or you're just constantly just pushing against your purpose and all this chaos happens in your life and death spirits take you before your time, that's when you have spirits that try to linger around that aren't supposed to be lingering around. These are called lost spirits. These are spirits that linger around because they didn't fulfill their purpose. And because they didn't fulfill their purpose, they linger and they're not ascending. Their soul knows they didn't fulfill their purpose and they linger. Or their soul knows they did things they shouldn't have done and it messed everything up. They messed everything up and they know it, so they linger around. Haunted houses, disturbing ancestors, stuff like that. So speaking of ancestors, we need to be mindful of disturbing ancestors that live through us. This is why we work with our ancestors. I will post a video with this video on how to work with your ancestors. If you feel like there's a lot of disagreeable energy that's tied to your ancestors, you could uplift those energies. You could give them a white light and uplift that energy away from you. Help them ascend out of here. Help them ascend, talk to them, help them out. Sometimes they need guidance. Sometimes we think it's just us. Sometimes we think it's just us that needs guides from the other side. They need guides from the other side too. And sometimes it's you. That's why we light candles for our ancestors, white ones, to help them ascend. We could talk to the other side and say, go to the light or ascend. You need to ascend. You're dead. Some spirits don't even realize that they're dead. and they linger and they're stuck in the physical realm because it's called unfinished business. Unfinished business is the act of not fulfilling your purpose when you live in this realm. This is why we need to physically fulfill that physical experience, just fulfill this experience that we're having. And the more we fulfill that purpose, the happier we are. And the more in array we're in, and the more light energy that we have when we're in array, when we're in ascension, and the less dark energy we have pulling us and punishing us and trying to push us in the other direction. We just need to listen to that energy. When we listen to it, we are in array, which means we start to make more money. We start to be more healthy. We start to be more happy. We feel good. We're experiencing life like going on vacation, loving, having healthy, loving relationships, doing things, hobbies that we love to do, stuff like that. That means that we are in array, we're in long life, we are living our purpose, stuff like that. So, I'm looking at my notes. Because, this is one of my last points, unless anybody has any questions, death teaches us to appreciate life. Because when we don't appreciate life, death spirits follow us. Like I've been saying in this video, chaos, destruction, losing things are being taken from you. You're depressed, you're angry all the time, stuff like that. Because we're not appreciating life, we're not in array when we behave that way. When we appreciate life, we start to be in array. And the more we are appreciating life, the less chaos we have in our life. So the more that we're aware of death, our own death, and the energy of death spirits, the more we appreciate not being dead, the more we appreciate the energy that isn't taken from us. When we're happy and we're joyful and stuff, this is what death teaches us. And what I mean by that is not just death itself, but like I've been explaining through this video, of death energy. Death of anything in our life, things being taken from us. Our sanity, our health, our wealth, stability, emotionally or physically, stuff like that. So, before I close out, if anybody who's watching this has any more questions in regards to death, go ahead and let me know. If you have any concerns about anyone passing away in your life, go ahead and let me know. Just a warning, if you are very sick, please do not ask me for a reading. If you are desperate for a reading, I will ask my spouse to do a reading for you. I cannot do readings on anyone who is sick right now until I get initiated all the way. Hopefully I should be getting initiated all the way by September. And the reason why you do not want to ask me for a reading is because if you are sick, those beings that walk with me will be more aware of you, and you could end up going downhill because you're attracting more of that energy that follows me to you. And if you're very sick, you don't want that. So if you are sick, I cannot do readings for you, but my spouse can. I'm not talking about cold or a flu or anything like that. Okay, I mean like something major. Okay, so if you feel like you're having a lot of death spirits energy around you, you feel like things are going backwards in your life instead of forward, go ahead and shoot me a message and I could do your reading on you. And we could speak to these spirits on the other end with Obi. I did a couple videos on how I speak with Obi, where I use coconut shells to speak through Obi. I can speak to these spirits on the other end to find out if they want a bow from you or what they want you to know and realize. A lot of times it has to do with a change of character, and you could help lighten up the energy by giving a bow. A bow means offers. You could offer them something, and the reason why you offer them something is to appease the energy so the energy will lighten up, because it teaches you to pay respect to those energies. The more we disrespect these energies, the more they tend to come after us. So we need to be respectful of not only white energy, but also black energy and red energy and all of the rainbow, because it is all aspects of Oludumare. It is all aspects of Amun. It is all aspects of the Most High. The Most High is everything, as in the whole entire universe, all consciousness. Therefore, when you disrespect or hate any part of existence, it means you are hating or disrespecting aspects of Amun or Oludumare. So when we learn to pay our respects and have respects for all energies, we get respected back. So in African indigenous practices, we respect all energies. And because we respect all energies, we no longer live in fear. We live fearless because we have a relationship with all aspects of the universe. So our soul could be more connected to all aspects of the universe. So we could be one with Oludumare, all of Oludumare. And when we only favor, for example, white light, like it's Obatala, then we are breaking Obatala or Asar into pieces, because Asar is both white, red, and black energy. So let's not break Asar into pieces and be one with everything and understand how the universe works in mysterious ways. So my next video I'm going to make is on the technique that a lot of abusers use, which is called gaslighting. And the reason why I want to make a video on this is because a lot of people are being controlled by it. We are being controlled by it in our personal relationships, by frenemies, even by the media, by politics, and a lot of this toxic behavior that we're dealing with in society right now. A lot of times we're being controlled by the technique called gaslighting. A lot of times we could feel energetically disturbed by a simple conversation. And either it's because we're in it's because we're in denial. Well, not all the way. Either it's because you're being gaslighted, you're not aware of it, or B, you could just be triggered by something. But something that I realized when I started to be more consciously aware of my own emotions instead of bottling them up and hiding from them, that a lot of times when we energetically feel disturbed or even triggered, is because we are sensing an energy that we've already experienced. Does that mean that we should be reactive? Absolutely not. We shouldn't be. So this is when we learn to be conscious and aware and ask ourselves, is this really happening? Am I really being gaslighted, or am I just reflecting my own issues onto somebody else? So if you would like to know more about what gaslighting is, and to help you be more aware of if you are gaslighting people or if you're dealing with people who like to gaslight you, go ahead and look out for that next video at Mindofro, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you could be notified whenever I have more love and light to share with you, or red and darkness to share with you. I hope everyone is having a day full of life. Alafia, Unk, Uchaseneb, Namaste, Adabo.